Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're diving into a really cool corner of the law called quasi-contracts. It's basically the law's super smart way of stepping in to make things fair when there's no actual contract to be found. It's fascinating stuff, so let's get right into it.
So just think about this for a second. What happens when someone gets a benefit? Money, goods, something that really should be yours, but you never signed a paper, you never shook hands. Is that just tough luck? Well, the law has a much better answer than that, and it's called a quasi-contract. Let's make this super simple. Imagine you order something awesome online, but whoops, it gets delivered to your old apartment by mistake. The new person living there just decides, hey, free stuff, and keeps it. You have zero agreement with this person, right? You've never even met them. So what do? Just hang on to that little story because it's the perfect key to unlocking this whole topic.
Okay, so what is this legal tool, this answer to unfairness? It's the quasi-contract. Now that word quasi is just a fancy way of saying as if or almost. So it's not a real contract, but the law pretends it is, just to make sure justice is served.
And here's the real magic. A normal contract comes from two people agreeing. A quasi-contract? Nope. It's an obligation that a court literally imposes on someone. The law basically creates a phantom contract out of thin air to say, hey, you can't just keep that benefit. It's not fair, and you have to make it right.
Now, you can't really get quasi-contracts until you get the big idea that powers the whole thing, the principle of unjust enrichment. This isn't just some dusty rule. It's the beating heart of the entire concept. It's all about fairness.
And trust me, this is not a new idea. Listen to this quote from way back in 1760. Lord Mansfield just nailed it. He said, "The reason someone has to pay you back is because of the ties of natural justice and equity. It's a moral obligation that the law decided to enforce."
So how does a court figure out if something is unjust enrichment? Well, they use this really simple three-part checklist. Number 1, did the other person actually get enriched? Did they get some kind of benefit? Number 2, was that benefit at your expense? And number 3, the big one, is it just plain wrong for them to keep it? If you can tick all 3 boxes, you're on your way.
Okay, so that's the big idea. But where do we find this in the actual law books in India? Well, it's not just a floating concept. It's spelled out right there in Chapter 5 of the Indian Contract Act of 1872.
First up, Section 68. This is about supplying necessaries, things like food, shelter, education, to someone who can't legally make a contract, like a minor. The law says you can get your money back from that person's property. It's only fair.
Then we have Section 69. Let's say your tenant fails to pay property taxes and the government is about to sell the property. To protect your investment, you pay the taxes. This section says you have the right to get that money back from your tenant. You paid their debt to protect your own interest. And here it is, Section 70. This one is huge, and it brings us right back to our package problem. If you do something for someone and you didn't mean for it to be a gift and they enjoy the benefit, they have to pay you back. That person who kept your package? This is the section that holds them accountable. Section 71 is pretty straightforward. If you find a lost wallet on the street, you can't just keep the cash. The law says you have a responsibility to take care of it and try to find the owner, just like a bailee would.
And finally, Section 72. This covers all those modern oops moments. Think about a bank accidentally putting an extra $1,000 in your account, or you paying a bill twice by mistake. The person who received it has to give it back. Simple as that.
All right, so we've got the theory and the sections of the law, but how does this stuff actually work in a real courtroom? Let's look at a couple of major cases that show these principles in action.
First, we have an absolute classic that every law student in India knows. State of West Bengal versus B.K. Mandal and Sons. This case is the bedrock for understanding how Section 70 really works. So check this out. A contractor built some structures for the government, but the paperwork wasn't done right, so there was no valid contract. But the state went ahead and used the buildings anyway. The Supreme Court said, no way. The state got the benefit, the contractor didn't do it for free, so the state had to pay up. The court laid out those 3 simple conditions for Section 70, and this case was a perfect fit.
Okay, we've gone through a lot. Let's boil it all down into a super clear summary. If you're studying for exams, this is where you want to really tune in.
This right here is probably the most important slide. A real contract is all about agreement, a meeting of the minds. A quasi-contract is the total opposite. It's imposed by a judge, requires no agreement, and it's all about one thing,
preventing one person from unfairly benefiting at another's expense.
So if you're ever analyzing a problem, just follow these 4 simple steps. 1. Spot an unjust enrichment. 2. Make sure there isn't a valid contract already in place. 3. See if your situation fits into one of those sections from 68 to 72. And if it does, step 4, the remedy you're looking for is restitution, which just means making them give back what they unfairly gained.
And here it is, your final cheat sheet. They're implied by law, they're based on unjust enrichment, they live in sections 68 to 72 of the Contract Act, no agreement needed. The goal is always restitution, not damages. And that BK Mondal case is your go-to for section 70. Got it?
So I'll leave you with a final question to chew on. This principle is over 150 years old, and we've seen it go from handling simple debts to tackling massive environmental disasters. In our world today, with mistaken crypto transfers, accidental NFT drops, and instant digital payments, how do you think this ancient idea of fairness is going to evolve next? Thanks for tuning in.